For centuries, the Amazon was imagined as endless wilderness, vast, green, untouched by humans. On many maps, it became a green interior, vast, remote, barely understood.
Then LiDAR changed the view, stripping the canopy to reveal the ground below. Among the shadows, some lines ran too straight and too far to ignore.
On the ground, signals led to raised earth, altered soil, measured by hand.
Some traces may point to communities built from earth, water, labor, memory. The pattern was not isolated. It appeared in distant regions, Ecuador to Bolivia. Even the soil carried traces, dark, fertile, filled with ancient life fragments. Together, clues suggest not isolated ruins, but landscapes people worked, crossed, remembered. The question is not if people shaped Amazon, but how much remains hidden below. To understand this mystery, we first must understand the scale that hid it. The Amazon basin stretches across nations, rivers, floodplains, forests, regions difficult to reach. For researchers, distance is not measured in miles, but in mud, water, time. The forest does not give up its evidence easily. It covers, absorbs, reshapes everything. A mound can become a hill. A road can become a line of roots and shade. From above, it looks untouched. That explains why old assumptions survived. In the western Amazon, one important clue comes from Ecuador's Upano Valley.
Here, the forest meets the Andes, creating valleys, rivers, corridors through difficult terrain. Far to the south, in Bolivia, another landscape would complicate this story.
Different places, environments gone. Both suggested forest hid organized human landscapes. In these lowlands, forest and water don't separate cleanly. They weave into one terrain. A landscape like this can bury traces slowly, without fire, collapse, destruction.
To the naked eye, only trees, grass, water. But maps remember shape.
The Amazon is not one environment. It's a mosaic of rivers, valleys, forests, plains. This is why absence on the surface cannot be treated as absence past. The work is slow, careful, and uncertain. Forest changes evidence it protects.
Yet across these regions, same quiet pattern returns. Hidden order beneath wilderness.
Only when the surface compared with data does the old landscape begin to reappear. The evidence itself began to point beyond what any single image could show. From the air, laser pulses passed between leaves, recording land's hidden shape. After processing, the forest becomes a surface of shadows, ridges, depressions, unexpected lines. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, data revealed more than scattered traces. It suggested a connected landscape.
Platforms, open spaces, and broad routes appeared in patterns too organized to dismiss as chance.
On the forest floor, these same forms can look ordinary. The plant just rises, roots, damp earth. That is why fieldwork matters. A map points to a clue, but hands must test.
Soil, charcoal, ceramics can turn a shape on screen into human presence evidence.
When field notes match mapped lines, the hidden landscape becomes harder to explain. The most important discovery, not a lost city, but a wider network possibility. In Upano, the pattern suggests planned spaces, not random clearings scattered through forest.
Researchers describe platforms, open areas, and roads arranged, implying organization.
If reconstructed carefully, these places looked modest, but they were not accidental.
Their importance lies in repetition, similar forms appearing again across mapped terrain.
One mound can be natural. A repeating system asks for explanation.
The evidence doesn't prove every detail of daily life, but it does show structure.
A route through forest is more than movement. It reveals connection, planning, shared labor.
The forest hides scale from the eye, but comparison begins to restore it.
What seems empty above may contain alignments, corridors, human decisions beneath leaves. Upano was one puzzle part. Farther south, another discovery made pattern harder ignore. The story did not remain in Ecuador. It stretched southward into Bolivia's lowlands.
Here, the land opens differently, Tai. Not endless canopy, but forest islands, water, plain. In the Casarabe region, LIDAR revealed another kind of ancient organization.
The data showed raised sites, causeways, canals, and waterworks across terrain.
Again, the evidence was not one isolated ruin, but a system of connected places. On the ground, these places look quiet. Low rises in grass, water, soil. But measured carefully, the rises form edges, platforms, and planned elevations. A causeway across wet ground suggests repeated use and shared work. When field images and LIDAR alight, the landscape becomes a document written in earth. But maps were only one layer of evidence. Another was darker, quieter, buried underfoot.
But maps were only one evidence layer. Another was darker, quieter, buried underfoot. In parts of Amazon, archaeologists find dark earth, schistolite, soil changed by human presence. These layers contain charcoal, food remains, pottery, signs of repeated occupation.
Over generations, ordinary life left an extraordinary archive in the soil itself.
A pottery fragment seems small, but it can anchor a human story to place.
No single clue is enough. Strength comes when soil, objects, maps, dates agree.
Together, the evidence points to people shaping parts of forest over long time. Still, evidence must be handled carefully. It doesn't turn Amazon into the city. It shows something more precise, Thruttig, human-designed regions within a vast, varied world. The question now becomes harder. What societies created landscapes like these?
Added. The evidence opens a question, but it does not give a simple answer. Were these villages, ceremonial centers, planned settlements, or something between those categories? Modern words can mislead us. Ancient Amazonian places may not fit familiar city models.
One possibility, low-density urbanism fly. Organized life spread across earthworks, paths, forests. In this model, connection matters as much as density. Roads become part of settlement. A road linked homes, fields, ritual spaces, communities that shared labor, memory. Population is one of the hardest questions. Earthworks don't translate cleanly into numbers. Some communities were modest in size, yet part of a much larger, organized landscape. The evidence does not support turning the whole Amazon into one vast city. It suggests something more careful, Claire. Many human-shaped places, each with its own history.
No single theory explains every site. Amazon's past was regional, varied, local.
A valley in Ecuador, a wet plain in Bolivia, dark soil tell different stories. In one region, paths organized movement through valleys, fields, settled ground. In another, canals, raised routes, helped people live with seasonal water.
Dark earth suggests repeated presence country. Not one moment, but generations returning to place.
Over time, ordinary actions become archaeology. Cooking, planting, discarding, rebuilding.
Theories begin with patterns, movement across land, control of water, transformation of soil.
If these systems were connected, the forest was not empty space between settlements. It may have been part of the system Prowl, managed, crossed, cultivated, remembered. But greatest uncertainty remains. How many lived here? What held these places together? Numbers are difficult. Ancient landscapes rarely preserve people as clearly as Earth. A mound does not equal a household. A route doesn't reveal who walked it.
What remains is often the trace of action, not the full life that moved through it. Some researchers see settlement networks. Others emphasize ceremonial centers, fields, water systems.
A plaza-like space may have gathered people, but its purpose remains open to interpretation.
The responsible answer is not certainty. It is a careful range of possibilities.
Across this vast basin, every discovery reveals knowledge and knowledge's limits. Blank spaces are not proof of emptiness. They are where evidence has no spoken. Perhaps the most important idea is not a lost empire, but many ways of living with forest. To imagine that world, we must rebuild it carefully, from evidence, not myth. A careful reconstruction begins with restraint, asking only what evidence can support. First come the lines, roots, edges, and raised ground mapped beneath forest canopy. In the past, such a line may have been a path of movement, work, return. People carried food, vessels, tools, and news between places now hidden by green.
A low mound on a map becomes a platform when field evidence strengthens interpretation.
These platforms supported daily activities, gatherings, or structures that left little behind. The lives themselves were ordinary kind, leaving marks that only become clear much later. This was not wilderness erased by cities, but forest, settlement shaped together.
The reconstruction moves between three worlds: forest, data beneath it, people implied.
Seen together, pieces suggest a lived landscape pile, connected, maintained, slowly swallowed by forest. Water was part of design boldly, not obstacle, but a force to be understood. In the evidence, roots and water features often sit close, suggesting practical decisions. A raised path across wet ground kept movement possible when seasons changed. Daily life depended on small acts: carrying, planting, clearing, repairing, returning. Those acts left different kinds of traces: code, in soil, in fragments, in land's shape. The forest was not simply cleared away. Many places managed and lived within. To reconstruct this world is to see the forest as historical terrain, not empty. Its scale wasn't always monumental. Its complexity was in connection, adaptation, time. But every reconstruction must stop where the evidence stops. Certainty disappears.
What remains is a careful image, not empire, but human landscape fading into green. Today, the forest covers much of that image, softening edges, hiding intention. A platform becomes a rise. A path becomes a shadow between roots. This is why discovery here begins quietly, with a hand clearing leaves from soil.
Between present forest and reconstructed past, there is always a line of uncertainty.
Still, evidence allows one careful glimpse. Lives organized around movement, water, place.
From above, the pattern is modest but deliberate poetry, a landscape made useful generations. The reconstruction must always return to the map, where imagination is checked by terrain.
What cannot be supported must be removed, even if it makes story less dramatic.
Even without certainty about people, the land suggests memory, labor, and return. And then the forest closes again, leaving the final question beneath the canopy. Beneath this canopy, the past doesn't vanish. It becomes difficult to separate.
A rise in ground may be natural, or edge of world not yet mapped.
The discoveries are remarkable, but they are scattered across a basin beyond imagination. Each marked site raises another question about the unmarked spaces between them.
LiDAR reveals hidden forms, but cannot answer who built them or why.
The ground must still be walked, sampled, dated, understood, where evidence survives. A single fragment matters, but only when recorded, compared, placed in pattern. The Amazon was never one simple place. Its history as varied as its rivers, soils.
What we know has changed. What we do not know has grown even larger.
The old idea of an untouched Amazon has become too small for evidence. This was not blank wilderness. Some places were shaped by human presence. But the forest doesn't reveal that presence as monuments. It reveals it in fragments. A line in the terrain, a shard of pottery, a dark layer of soil. From such traces, we glimpse a world of paths, water, work, and memory. Then time closes over it, not erasing, but making everything harder to read.
The next discovery may not come from legend, but patience, fieldwork, better questions.
The Amazon is still alive, changing, still holding history beneath green silence. They thought the Amazon was untouched. They were wrong. Forest may not be finished speaking,